Hello, grade 9. Welcome to our lesson for today. We are looking at factorization today. Just a quick recap. In the last lesson, we were removing brackets. For example, 4 multiplied by x plus 2, and we distributed 4 into the bracket. So 4 multiplied by x, and then 4 multiplied by 2. So 4 times x gave us 4x, and 4 times 2 will give us 8. We are interested today in reversing this process. I need us to take note. What this says is that if you are given 4x plus 8, you can actually write this expression as 4 brackets x plus 2. We are reversing the first thing that we did. So 4x plus 8 is the same as 4 brackets x plus 2. Now, this is called the factorized form of the expression 4x plus 8. So we are factorizing. So what exactly do we mean by factorization? To factorize is to write a number as a product. A product means we are multiplying. So we are writing a number as a product of its factors. So we need the factors to be multiplied by each other. All right, so let's look at an example of how we factorize. We are going to be using a method of taking out the highest common factor. You will need to pay attention to this because there are so many different expressions and we approach them differently. This is the common step that you need to take. For every question where you are factorizing, the first thing you need to look out for is the highest common factor, the HCF. So the highest common factor. So we are given in our case 4x plus 4y. Right, 4x plus 4y. How many terms do you see there? 2. All right, so there are 2 terms, and the 2 terms are 4x, the other one is 4y. And what is common between 4x and 4y? Do you see that 4 is common? There is a 4 in both of them. There is nothing else that is common except 4. Now, so one of the factors is 4. Now we need to look for the other factor. Now, if you know one factor, you get the other factor by dividing by the factor that you know already. So we now need to take our 4x and divide it by 4. Also, take that 4y and divide that one by 4. That is how you get the other factor. If you know one factor, remember the other factor is found by dividing. Right, so let's divide. What is 4x divided by 4? Clearly the 4's will cross out, and so you remain with x. And the 4's there also will cancel out, and so you remain just with your y. So the answer is 4 brackets x plus y. So you see your 2 factors, this is a factor, so 4 is a factor there, and x plus y is your other factor. So these 2 factors are multiplied by each other, and we call this thing factorization. So to factorize is to write an expression as a product of its factors, and we use brackets. We will be using brackets in algebraic expressions. Brackets actually tell us that we are multiplying. So please do not use the multiplication sign. Don't write this thing like this. Don't say 4 multiplied by x plus y. That will be wrong. So we need to use a bracket instead of the multiplication sign. So the correct method is 4 brackets x plus y. All right. Here's another example. In this example, there are 3 terms. This is your first term there. This is your second term there. And that is your third term there. So look across it. Do you see anything common there? Right? There is a 7 there, there is a 14 there, there is a 63 there. I would start with the numbers first. 7, 14, 63. What do they have in common? You'll notice 7 is common. Well, 7 goes into 7, and 7 goes into 14, 7 goes into 63. All right, then go to the variables. start with the variable x. The first one is x cubed, the second one is x to the 4, and the third one is x to the 5. What do they have in common? Do you see that they share x cubed? So there is x cubed in the first one, there is x cubed in the second one, it is there. There is also x cubed in the third one. Now go to the y. Now the first one is y to the 7, the second is y to the 8, and the third is y to the 9. What do they share? Clearly, they share y to the 7, right? So they share y to the 7 because y to the 7 can divide into y to the 7. Y to the 7 goes into y to the 8. Y to the 7 also goes into y to the 9. Right, you do that and then you draw your brackets. Then remember, to get the other factor, you need to divide by the highest common factor. So now 7x cubed y to the 7 should be divided by the highest common factor, which is 7x cubed y to the 7. All right. Minus, I'm just putting down the negative sign. You see that negative sign there? I'm writing it down there. And then it's 14x to the 4, y to the 8, which we should also divide by the same highest common factor, 7x cubed, y to the 7. All right, then there is a plus sign there, so I'm going to write it here. And then the number there is 63x to the 5, y to the 9. And that must also be divided by 7x to the 3, y to the 7. Right, there will come a time where you actually don't need to write this. You can do this in your head. But for now, I would rather you write it like that. Okay, now let's simplify inside that bracket there. So we write down our highest common factor. Then we can do the division. Right, do you notice that this number is the same as that number? It's exactly the same term. So a number divided by itself will give you 1. So that gives us a 1. Then for the second part, 7 into 7 goes 1, and 7 into 14 will go 2. Right, so there is a 2 there. Then there is x to the 4 divided by x to the 3. You can use your exponential laws, which say you can keep your base and subtract the exponents. 4 minus 3 will give you a 1. I won't write the 1, but it's x to the power of 1. Then do the same thing now for y. Y to the 8 is divided by y to the 7. So we keep our base, which is y. Then we subtract the exponents. 8 minus 7 is 1. I don't have to write it. All right, plus. Then the next one there, 7 goes into 7 once, and 7 goes into 63 9 times. So there is a 9. Then there is x to the 5 divided by x to the 3. Keep the base, which is x, and subtract the exponents. 5 minus 3 will give you 2. Then you go to y to the 9 divided by y to the 7. Again, keep your base, which is y, and subtract the exponents. 9 minus 7 will give you 2. Then you draw your brackets. So that is your answer. That is your final answer there. You can't simplify that any further. How many factors did we get? We got 2 factors. This is the first factor that we got, and that one there is the second factor that we got, and we are multiplying these 2 by each other. So if you multiply these 2 together, you should go back and get 7x cubed y to the 7 minus 14x to the 4 y to the 8 plus 63 x to the 5 y to the 9. Okay. Okay, let's look at this example here. This is a little more complicated one. It's more complex than the first one. First of all, do you see the number of terms in the expression? In this expression, we have 2 terms. We have this term here, that's 1, and we have this one there, that is 2. Right, so remember we are looking first of all for the highest common factor. You need to be able to look at that and tell what is common. Right, if you compare the first expression with the second expression, I know you all can see a minus 2, so that is quite obvious. So a minus 2 is in both our expressions, right? But is it only a minus 2 that is in both? Right, we've taken care of a minus 2. Right, we've taken care of a minus 2. Right, but is that everything that is common? So look at 4a. Okay, look at 4a here and look at 8 there. What is common between 4a and 8? You need to look for the highest common factor. A minus 2 is a common factor, but is it the highest common factor? So 4a and negative 8, you will notice 4 is common because 4 can be seen in 4a, and 4 is definitely a factor of 8. So your highest common factor is actually 4 brackets a minus 2. So that is your highest common factor. So first of all, look for the highest common factor. Then write your highest common factor as it is out there. Now, this is one factor. You now need to find the other factor. Now, to find the other factor, you need to divide. Divide everything by the highest common factor. I'm going to use a different form of brackets here because this looks like a big expression. So we need now to go back and take 4a brackets a minus 2 and divide that thing by the highest common factor. The highest common factor is 4a minus 2. All right, see that? Okay. And then there's a minus sign there, so I'm going to put a minus sign here. And we do have after that our 8, then a minus 2. I'm just taking everything that was there in the beginning and I'm dividing it by the highest common factor. Divide that by the highest common factor. All right. If you think you can do that in your head without writing it down, it's fine. You won't lose marks for not showing all those steps. So our HCF is 4 here, brackets a minus 2. Now let's simplify and see what we get inside the square bracket. Right, clearly a minus 2 will cancel out. And 4 and 4 will cancel out. So from the first part here, we just remain with a. The rest cancel out. The negative sign should be put down there. Next, clearly a minus 2 and a minus 2 will cancel out. And then 8 divided by 4 will give us 2. So that will be your answer. This is your answer. In this particular example, we have 3 factors. 4 is the one factor, a minus 2 and a minus 2 are the other factors. And that's it.